Zika virus. In 1947, researchers George Dick and Alexander Haddo from the Rockefeller Foundation discovered the Zika virus near Entebbe, Uganda. Originally, they were examining the widespread of the yellow fever in the Zika forest. They came across 12 viruses throughout the expedition. They would isolate monkeys in canopies leveled to the trees by leaving them in cages to get bitten by mosquitoes, and later would proceed to draw their blood for testing. One rhesus monkey, number 766, was one of the monkeys whose test stood out from the rest. MR766 grew faster in NPCs, neural progenitor cells, and in developing brain and caused more pronounced cell death in NPCs and neurons, resulting in more severe neuronal loss. This pathogen is a non-segmented, single-stranded, positive-sense RNA virus of the Flaviridae family. Members of this family belong to a single genus Flavarius and cause widespread morbidity and mortality throughout the world. Some of the mosquitoes transmitted viruses include yellow fever, dengue fever, Japanese encephalitis, West Nile, and Zika virus. Zika virus is an emerging arthropod-borne virus, and the virus infection is also a trigger of GBS, Guillain-Barré syndrome, neuropathy, and mellitus, particularly in adults and older children. In 1947, the first isolation of the Zika was founded. In 1963 to 1968, it entered India, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, infiltrating Africa and South Asia. In 2007, the island of Yap reported several cases of red eyes, joint pain, rash, and fever, which began the outbreak of the Zika virus. Before Yap, only 14 human cases had been reported. In 2013 to 2014, the first severe case potentially associated with Zika and GBS had surfaced. Easter Island became infected, and then all of French Polynesia and South Pacific. In 2015, Brazil started to notice a percentage of less than 150 cases of babies born with abnormally small heads and brains associated to Zika. Between 2015 and 2016, more than 2,000 plus cases were confirmed. Scientists now recognize that the pathogen crosses the placenta from mother to child, targeting the brain cells, killing radial glial cells, which are responsible for the shaping of a developing brain, which there is no treatment nor vaccine for. In 2016, the World Health Organization declared a public health emergency of international concern. April 2016, the correlation of Zika and sexual transmission was confirmed. By November 2016, the World Health Organization declared Zika no longer a fake. The virus subsequently declined in essentially all countries and territories throughout 2017 and 2018, and in 2018, a total of 31,587 suspected, probable, and confirmed cases of Zika disease were reported in the region of Americans. Women who infected with the Zika virus during pregnancy have an increased risk of miscarriage, preterm birth, and stillbirth. Due to concerns of microcephaly caused by maternal Zika virus infection, fetuses and infants of women infected with Zika virus during pregnancy should be evaluated for possible congenital infections and neurological abnormalities. The febrile illness is associated with neurological disease that infects cells through clathrin-mediated endocytosis and fusion employing acidic endosomes. In males, however, the immunological response to Zika infection correlates with viral persistence. Some men notice blood in their semen and inflamed prostate. Could it be that the immune system may have a dual role in sexually transmitted pathogenesis? Well, yes. Zika virus is composed of an envelope and a nucleocaspid. The virus particles are spherical and small in size, with an electron-dense core of approximately 30 nanometers in diameter and end within the 50 nanometers. Mature Zika has 180 copies of E and M proteins that are immersed in the viral entry. Many people infected with the Zika virus are asymptomatic, and characteristics like clinical illness is usually mild, with symptoms lasting several days to a week. Being in the tropical and subtropical areas increase your risk of exposure to the Zika virus, especially high-risk areas including several of the Pacific Islands, several countries in Central, South, and North America, and islands near West Africa. Aedes aegypti, or the yellow fever mosquito, breeds primarily in or around human habitations and flies short distances, usually only about 200 yards. They carry dengue, yellow fever, and Zika. The albopictus, or the Asian tiger mosquito, can also carry dengue and Zika. A fun fact is that the eggs can actually dry up and survive tough conditions and still manage to hatch after days to months by coming in contact with water. Zika virus, along with Ebola, West Nile, Lyme disease, and yellow fever, are all examples of zoonotic diseases transmitted between animals and humans. The neurovascular function provides a homeostatic environment. Zika virus induces strong inflammatory responses and a homeostasis. Functions of the human retinal pigment epithelium and the capability of Zika to infect human neural progenitor cells has been confirmed in several studies. Zika virus has also been detected in viral culture in many other human body fluids, including urine and amniotic fluid, breast milk, saliva fluid, cervical mucus, and swabs. For successful infection, the virus has developed elaborate mechanisms to escape the host response, including blocking host interferon response and shutting down certain host cell. The Zika virus can persist for weeks in the body fluids and up to 6 months post-infection and seminal fluid in adults. To characterize the cellular responses and molecular mechanisms involved in Zika pathogenesis, extensive virus-host interactome analysis have been conducted. In adults, other than GBS, very few cases of CNS involvement have been reported. Some of the complications include encephalitis, meningitis, mellitus, and neuropsychiatric symptoms. Zika virus and dengue virus coexist in many developing nations and equatorial South America and Southeast Asia, where there is limited access to healthcare resources and virus-specific diagnostics are not readily available. There is no treatment available for Zika infection or its associated diseases. Therefore, it is extremely important for lab workers to wear appropriate PPE for Zika BSL-2. It is more than possible for workers to be exposed by the eyes, mouth, nose, and this may occur by splashes or sprays of infectious liquids or droplets from laboratory samples, accidentally touching the face with contaminated gloves, or when handling contaminated waste. It is recommended to not take aspirin, ibuprofen, or naproxen, or other non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs without a healthcare provider's approval. Under certain conditions, these medications can increase the risk of bleeding. In Uganda, Zika is actually spelled Ziika, and in 2009, the University of Texas of Austin became one of the few places that continues the discovery of Zika. They are known to have the world's largest collection of the kind, about 30 completely different strains. Contributors that are not financial contributors but did help are International Child Care, located in Kalamazoo. They provide health care to at-risk children and families, including working with kids who have AIDS and TB. MAP International in Brunswick. They provide access to medicine and health supplies for the world's poorest communities and contributed to the outbreak of Ebola. Save the Children. Their experts offer simple actions to help protect children from the Zika virus and work on educating children and families in some of the most undeserved and isolated communities. Save the Children works with partners in 200 schools across 20 states. A non-probability sample research study done in 2021 by the National Research Institute placed its center of attention on the neurodevelopmental outcome of children within the uterus that are Zika exposed but do not have serious birth defects like microcephaly or severe abnormalities consisting of CZS. The objective of the study is to determine whether children who were exposed to Zika in the utero and who do not have CZS have abnormalities in neural development during early childhood and school age. The incidence of abnormal neurodevelopmental outcomes is in apparently normal children within the uteral Zika exposure is not known yet. CDC awarded $25 million in public health preparedness and response funding to 53 states, cities, and territories to support efforts to protect Americans from Zika virus infections and associated adverse health outcomes, including microcephaly and other serious birth defects. According to the United States Government Accountability Office, the funding was effective July 1st, 2016, and was available through June 2017. As the virus spread into the United States, Congress appropriated $931 million to address the growing threat. And then here I just kind of rounded it up at the end. And that is it for my presentation. Thank you.